Every entry in the Pikmin series has sported a fresh cast of main characters to play with. Pikmin 1 obviously introduced Olimar. He set the standard for basically every other playable main character in the series, with his spacesuit, body proportions, and scale being directly taken for all other playable humanoid characters. Pikmin 2 introduced us to Louie and the President, two new playable characters from Olimar's company who share many design similarities with him. They share the spotlight with him, though Olimar is still definitely the main protagonist of the game. That being said, Pikmin 3 introduced us to an entirely fresh set of characters, the Copiates, Alph, Brittany, Charlie, and Redacted. Olimar was a mainstay in the story, but he wasn't playable at all in story content until later, like 8 years after the release of the original game with the deluxe content, so, that's cool. Just take Olimar's job as the protagonist, I guess. No, but seriously, I love Alph, Brittany, and Charlie. I really think they enriched the Pikmin lore by adding Copai as a planet. We already knew there had to be other civilized planets because Olimar obviously had a company that he worked for that shipped to other places other than his own planet because they shipped through space, so it's cool to finally see one of these places. So in Pikmin 4, we just got a bunch of new characters, and whew! If you think the addition of Copai expanded the scale of the Pikmin universe, well, you've got nothing on what Pikmin 4 did. Not only did we get a bunch of named NPCs from a bunch of different planets, we also got the entirety of the Rescue Corps, and of course, Oatchi and Moss. And if you want to be technical, we also got Leaflings, the Sage Leaf, and just a lot of new named characters in spacesuits, which is really, really cool, and a first for the series. We usually only get, 1 to 3 new spacesuit-wearing characters every entry. That being said, Pikmin 4 has got me thinking. When the inevitable Pikmin 5 comes out, will it have another creative character? Or will we see another prior series protagonist return? Have we already met Pikmin 5's playable protagonist? Are they someone new? Could one of the Castaways from Pikmin 4 or another side character from a past entry fill that role? Could they come from a wide pool of secondary characters in Pikmin 4 or other entries like Pikmin 2? This is something that we've always speculated on in every new entry, with thoughts of Olimar's family potentially getting involved as new playable characters happening every single time, but it has yet to come true. My name is Vantage Emblem, and today we're going to be talking through basically every single major character in the series, plus a bunch of the side characters, and we're going to talk about whether or not they're going to return. So, if you're new around here, you should subscribe if you like Pikmin content. I do Pikmin videos when I feel like it at this point. And you don't want to miss those. So, without further ado, let's get right into this. So, let's first take note of everyone we just talked about, all of the possible returning main leaders. Obviously, we have Olimar, Louie, the President, we have the new captain from Pikmin 4, and we have the Copiate trio from Pikmin 3. I think all of them are fair game to appear as a playable character in a future Pikmin game. Oatchi and Moss as well, but I'm going to put a bracket in them for now because obviously they're much more of an interesting question, considering they're unlike any other leaders we've seen in the Pikmin universe before. While returning leaders are fun and exciting, I'd like to point out that the only 2 leaders that have returned in every single entry since their introduction are Olimar and Louie. And on top of that, I'd like to point out that they weren't even all playable in every entry that they returned in. Olimar wasn't fully playable in a main campaign sort of mode until the 2020 re-release of Pikmin 3 with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and the same thing is true with Louie, though they were playable in some side mission mode content. Considering characters like the President or the Copiate trio from Pikmin 3 have not shown up at all as playable characters past their debut, I think it's unlikely that they'll return as the main protagonist of Pikmin 5. But Pikmin's been known to shake things up. I mean, we never had a creatable character before Pikmin 4, and we had a custom playable character in that game now. Speaking of, if we were to have a customizable character, what customization options will they have? We had some leafling things we could put on this time. Would it be more fleshed out as a creator system than Pikmin 4? Or is that just a one-time thing for this one entry? Fire Emblem, another Nintendo series that has done this sort of custom character thing recently, has had a lot more depth for character creation, and a lot more of a limited character creation where you just name your character. And I could see Pikmin eventually going in that direction, where just like Byleth and Fire Emblem Three Houses, it's technically a nameable character. You pick the form/gender, and that's about all the customization you get, versus, say, the Fire Emblem Awakening version of character creation, where you get to pick a lot more of the features. So I could see there being a middle ground that kind of happens with character creation here too, or the feature being scrapped altogether. I think there's a good chance that in future Pikmin entries, things will go back and forth between having the character be customizable and having a set main protagonist. So while Pikmin 4 had, obviously, the customizable character, Pikmin 5 might have a returning main leader or an entirely new main leader as our playable character. Pikmin 6, if we ever do get that far though, could have a customizable character. And actually, I want to point out that Pikmin 4 is not the first time we've seen a customizable playable character in the series. No, that honor actually goes to the Miis in Pikmin Bloom, which only kinda count. Actually, if we want to roll it back, the Miis in Pikmin Adventure on Nintendo Land, right? But like, they're Miis, they're customizable by nature. It's not fully the idea of a unique Pikmin captain, which of course we got in Pikmin 4. To sum it all up, I think it's very likely that there's another customizable character in the series' future. However, I don't think it's just necessarily the humanoid leader that's potentially customizable. Given the popularity of Oatchi in Pikmin 4 and Moss, I think it's totally possible that if the dogs return, they're also fully customizable. And I think that would work within a customizable system. You could change the color, size of the dogs, potentially customize their stats, just like you can train Oatchi in Pikmin 4. And that actually poses a few questions. Are the dogs returning at all? Will we see new dogs? Are the dogs necessarily the same size and function as the rescue dogs before? Could we see new types of dogs as animal companions, or maybe new animal companions altogether? Maybe ones that remain as small as Oatchi was at the start of the game? Maybe we get big dogs again. There are so many ways they can take the dog concept from Pikmin 4 and spread it into a new game. I mean, if we have Olimar again, could he have Bulby? On top of this, there's the idea that maybe the dogs don't return. Maybe Pikmin 4 is just the puppy game in the Pikmin series, and this mechanic kind of stays in that game, but it was so good for new players and so well received by new players that I really think that dogs are going to return. I mean, there were articles written where people were having a hard time going back to earlier Pikmin entries because they liked the dog so much, right? So I think that it's likely that we're going to see a new space dog in a future entry. Like it or not, I think the space dogs are here to stay. So, chances are, if there's a customizable character, and there's returning space dogs, it's probably likely that we'll see a customizable space dog at some point, right? But will this happen in Pikmin 5? Let's assume, for a moment, that we are not getting a customizable created character, but we are getting a space dog in the game. What if we got a returning trio of characters like Alph, Brittany, and Charlie, now with a new rescue pup with them, all three of them playable at once, but now with the dog also playable at the same time, giving us 4 leaders to multitask with, one of them being the space dog with different mechanics. I think this is totally possible, and considering Pikmin 1 had 1 character, right? Pikmin 2 had 2 playable characters, Pikmin 3 had 3 playable characters, Pikmin 4 may very well have had more than 1 playable character plus the dog at some point, and that was overwhelming, so they ended up switching back to 1 character and the dog, but that's entirely speculative, not based on any real information. It's just totally possible that this is something that was experimented with and was deemed not fun, or it could be unexplored territory for the developers to work in, right? We've never had a Pikmin game where we've actually had an opportunity to try multitasking with multiple human leaders and a space dog at once, and I'd love to see how that feels. I could, however, see this getting very difficult and frustrating to the casual player, given how different the space dog controls from the leader. Having more than 1 regular leader would just make the space dog feel even more the odd one out, instead of a companion piece to the main character like they were in Pikmin 4. Speaking of companions, I want to talk about the possibility that one of the random castaways from Pikmin 4 becomes a playable character. I mean, you could totally flesh them out and make them less modular and make some of them into a more interesting character. A lot of them already have interesting backstories, for example being biocrafted, or Damo already having been fleshed out a bit, or Snoz already having been fleshed out a bit, and I think it'd be really exciting to see them again, right? Especially if they're taking on a new role as a member of the new playable crew. We could also see characters like the Copilot Trio from Pikmin 4, the new Copilot Trio, I suppose, and we could see their journey fleshed out. Or we could see an entire new group of characters picked from the Castaways of Pikmin 4. Like, imagine if Pikmin 5 has Damo and Snoz and Puddle all together as playable characters. That would be so much fun. I think it would make their inclusion in Pikmin 4 even more entertaining from the perspective of them being playable in Pikmin 5. It would be like a teaser of what was to come. And I think you could do this with other characters as well. Like, imagine if the main character of Pikmin 5 was the Sage Leaf from Pikmin 4. Maybe even it's his backstory before he became the Sage Leaf, of him years and years and years ago, giving a new perspective on Pikmin lore. Or Maybe he's a secret unlockable character. There's a lot you can do with just the Castaways of Pikmin 4, right? And it doesn't even have to be these important Castaways. You could literally pick any random Castaways from this game, and it would be super interesting, especially if there's not character customization in this game, and these designs are allowed to stand out, rather than just being clearly pieces taken from the modular system that was already built. I mean, heck, just borrowing the profession of some of these characters from Pikmin 4 already is interesting as the basis for a new main character. For example, a caver, or a school teacher, or a musician, or a TV crew. Could you imagine if we got to play as a TV crew in Pikmin 5, and we were going to, like, film a wildlife show? Like, that would be so funny, and I'd be so down. And that's not even getting into the Rescue Corps members, who are not directly playable in the main campaign, potentially having their own time to shine in Pikmin 5. Right? Imagine seeing, I don't know, Yanni, or Bernard, the best of the Rescue Corps members. Okay, I have a bias. This guy is awesome. I love that he emphasizes random words. He's so funny. Could you imagine Bernard being the main character of Pikmin 5? Like, it was just a Bernard game? Like, I'd be so happy. That would be so fun. The point is, from literally all of the games, there's so much that could be pulled, right? I mean, if you want to get really, really deep, you could start pulling characters from the Pikmin 2 emails, right? Some of the spam email folks. You could pull characters from Olimar's family, his backstory. You could pull the president's wife. You could pull Louie's grandma. There's so many characters that you could include as new playable characters. But if series tradition holds true, I think we're going to get an entirely new cast, and then Olimar also being playable in some form, with Louie having a role in the game. And that has been the only safe bet we've had in Pikmin so far. We've been speculating that returning characters, side characters, would become main characters since the first game, right? Olimar's family has always been predicted to be playable. When Louie was first revealed in Pikmin 2, people thought, oh, that's Olimar's son. When, in Pikmin 3, Alph was first revealed, people thought, oh, that's Olimar's son. And you know what? When the new customizable character was first shown off, guess what people thought? Oh, maybe that's Olimar's daughter, grown up, and now she's dyed her hair. Like, consistently, people assume that Olimar's family's involved, that some returning characters are involved. I mean, before we knew that there was a customizable character in Pikmin 4, there was so much speculation that the new leader was, like, the child of Brittany and Alph, which I never bought into, but there was a lot of people talking about that. And the designs of a lot of the new crew from Pikmin 4 were just seen as, instead of just important NPCs, the entire crew of characters we would have. Pikmin leader speculation has almost always been wrong. Every Pikmin game has, like it or not, always included new characters with new backstories to be playable. It's just happened. Pikmin 1 had Olimar, who was never seen in a Nintendo game before. Pikmin 2 had the President and Louie, who, Olimar's co-workers, were not mentioned really at all in Pikmin 1. Pikmin 3 included the Castaways, which were completely new to the series with no ties to Olimar other than when they find him during their journey, and of course Pikmin 4 introduced the Rescue Corps, and that is not something that had been mentioned before. Pikmin 5 more than likely is going to have a new set of characters with a new scenario, and that's kind of cool. But I could also see Pikmin 5 being a sort of Pikmin All-Star scenario, where maybe it's Olimar and Oatchi and Alph and the President all as a squad. Something completely weird, pulling characters from different games. Or maybe it's Dalmo and Louie and Olimar and Olimar's son. We could really see something like this happen at some point, but more likely than not, we're not going to see a derivative from something we've seen before. There's always the chance that one of these characters that has appeared somewhere in the franchise before could be the big star of Pikmin 5, but really we have nothing to go on with this game. We don't even know if it exists or is being developed at the moment, though we can hope, right? But either way, there's still a big question. Will we see, when Pikmin 5 is inevitably made, a new character entirely or someone returning? Will Olimar be playable again, right? Will we see returning series veterans like Louie as a playable character or as an antagonist? There's so much that could be done pulling from the series' rich history, but the question is, how much is going to be new and how much is going to be returning? What do you think? Do you think we're going to see this potential Pikmin All-Stars scenario? Do you think the Rescue Corps is going to come back? Do you think the Castaways are going to come back? Do you think that any of the Pikmin games that have existed prior are going to have a direct continuation within the plot of Pikmin 5? Do you think it's going to be another soft reboot? Do you think the dogs are going to return? Do you think it's going to be Oatchi or Moss like before, or an entirely new dog. I mean, Moss was left on the planet, so he very easily could just show up for whoever shows up there next, and that would be exciting. Do you think we'll see something like the Sage Leaf return? Do you think we may see some of the Castaways in a bigger role? Let me know in the comments below. That being said, I'll stop rambling and end things here. My name is Vantage Emblem. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think. This is just really fascinating to me, and I'd love to see what people have to say about it. And anyway, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers!